Hey, how's it going, guys? Hope you've all had an excellent year so far. It's Optimus Prime 809. Now, as you can see out there, and as you probably noticed yourself, the days are short, the temperatures are down, and as you can probably hear, it's very rainy and very windy. That can only mean one thing. It means that I live in England. RIP. Sad times. Oh well. JK, it can mean two things. It's the end of the year, which means that it is time for my top 10 favourite action figures of 2023 list. Now, I'm going to keep it fairly simple for myself. It's pretty much any figures that I acquired in 2023. So there may be one or two, perhaps, figures or groups of figures that I acquired this year that actually came from outside of 2023. Basically, I just wanted to be able to have the chance to talk about some fun action figures that I bought this year, pretty much, and this nice simple rule pretty much allows me to do that. Strap in, maybe get a drink or do something in the background. You can stick this video on 1.5 times speed if you'd like. That's fine by me. I don't want to take up too much of your time because it's very valuable. Now, I'm going to name some honourable mentions first, and then we'll get into the list itself. See you soon. Hey. So, here's the honourable mentions for the year. So, we have the mainline deluxe Cheetor. I actually prefer this over the Studio Series 1 because transformation is great, articulation is excellent, and I think it fits into multiple shelves. I've customised it, so he does look very nice now. Here we have the mainline Rise of the Beast Battle Masters. This was an excellent line. I really would like them to carry it on, perhaps with some non-Beast characters, but I don't think that's going to happen, sadly. But I think next to the mainline Deluxes and Voyagers, these were the best thing to come out of that Rise of the Beast toy line. I've got Primal here, and I've got Cheetor somewhere else. I think overall Primal is my favourite, then Skullcrusher, then Chainclaw, then Rhinox, and then Cheetor. There were perhaps one or two others that I missed, but yeah, maybe I'll pick them up at some point. Here we have the Earthspark Deluxe Bumblebee. Excellent figure. It does have some pretty visible paint mismatch, but both modes look really nice and faithful to the show. I have customised it slightly by colouring the air intakes and mushroom cakes, and I think it's a very nice design for Bumblebee. Kind of reminds me of the old Transformers Prime and Robots in Disguise type designs that I really liked. So the Earthspark Deluxes were hit and miss, but this is definitely one of the highlights. Here we have the Gamer Edition Author Sub from Optimus Prime. Very nice figure, big, chunky, quite good value for money. Compared to the original Deluxe, a downgrade in some respects. For example, the front of the truck is not clean, and that's a massive issue. There's some other little gaps and things, but I do like how game accurate it is in both modes. I do like the accessories, and the articulation is very good, and it's a much simpler transformation than that old figure, so I think that's definitely the best figure to come out of that Gamer Edition subline so far. I do have my eyes on Cliffjumper, and that Starscream does look good, except for the cockpit. Let's go here. We have the Studio Series Rhinox. I've customised it because there was just a complete lack of paint on him, which is one of the reasons why I dislike the figure. But now it's great, very good. He comes with his hammer, and the Primal Beast Battle Master does look very good on him. I think the main issue is the proportions. The legs are very small, and the arms are a bit small as well. But the Yellow Pop one does look better in that regard, so this is why this figure is only an honourable mention and not on the list. It does have a very nice transformation though, and the Rhino mode looks very cool actually. Here we have the Legacy Deluxe Strongarm. I loved Robots in Disguise. That's not the best cartoon, but I personally liked it. I acknowledged its problems. It's very much designed to sell toys, but Strongarm was a great character to come from that show, and she's not really had a good toy in, well, all that time since the show released. So I'm glad that that's finally been corrected. She's got a nice new figure, and that Elite 1 mold was actually a very good mold to use, surprisingly, for this figure. This crossbow doesn't come with the figure. It came with the Takara, like that big Optimus Prime that they did. I don't know the exact name of it, but I also did acquire that this year. That was a grail of mine, so excellent. Here we have the Earthrise Warrior Class Thrash. I really am quite surprised by this figure. I really enjoy it. I was anxiously anticipating its release. I have customised it quite a lot actually, as you can see, but the sculpt and the articulation, the transformation, everything is very good. It looks great in both modes. Even without my customization, I think it's, well, definitely worthy of an honourable mention. It does kind of remind me of Samurai Prowl from the animated line. Yeah, I think that if you get a chance to buy this figure, you should, because it's not even the price of a deluxe. It's a Warrior class figure, but it does very much feel like a deluxe with the great articulation and transformation. Here we have the Gaming Greats Old Maul and Bastila Shan. This is easily the best 6-inch scale Maul that you can buy. You can get into any pose you want, pretty much, and he looks good whatever the pose. And here we have Bastila. She is just incredible, perhaps one of the best Black Series figures ever released, I feel. Not even the best female Black Series figure. The articulation is crazy. I feel like she's quite easy to pose. I usually have trouble posing double-bladed lightsaber wielders, but she poses effortlessly. She has this great range at the neck, which I really enjoy, and she just looks good in all poses, pretty much. I really enjoy Knights of the Old Republic and the lore. That's probably one of my favourite settings and eras for Star Wars. I love the game, and Bastila was a great character in the game, so I'm very happy to have her. Over here we have Legacy Tarn. The leader of the Decepticon Justice Division finally has had justice done unto him. It's an excellent figure. I'm glad that he finally did get a figure after all these years. And what an excellent figure it is. He can pose so well. He has a nice transformation. He looks good in both modes. I think the only problem are the shoulders. They articulate a bit weirdly, and the tank mode doesn't have any wheels or working trades or anything, so it's a bit of a bookend really. And finally, these two legends. I can't believe I actually have these two next to each other, but it's the Legacy Armada Voyager Starscream and Leader Megatron. I really do like Armada, and I really love the Armada game for the PS2. I come back to it often, and I often think about it, and yeah, that was one of the formative games from my childhood. And these two were bosses there, so I'm glad to finally have good plastic renditions of them. Starscream is rather simplistic, but I think he gets the job done. He does everything pretty much that you'd want him to, has good articulation from 2023, but his transformation does harken back to his previous figures, like the Thrilling 30 and the original Armada figure. Megatron was this close to greatness. He needed a few more accessories, maybe some blast effects, perhaps a little knife or something as a homage to the old figure. And I think that the hips, they have like ratchets going forwards and backwards, but they really needed some going like outwards as well, because, well, there isn't one. There aren't ratchets basically, which makes him rather floppy, which is a shame. I do wonder how that's going to hold up over time. And his shoulders are a big issue as well. You try and move the arms out and then move them back in, and these will just go with them and splay outwards and look a bit goofy. And they also don't move back. You know, when you're trying to articulate the shoulders backwards, they don't move anywhere. So that does hinder his posability, which is a shame. And I definitely have to dock a few points for that. I do think there was a fan that made some sort of mod to fix that though. So here's the honourable mentions. There were a lot of excellent figures this year, so I would want to mention a few more, but we don't have time. And here we go. So onto the list.
I hate the accent.
Okay, we're kicking it off with number 10. It's the Studio Series Deluxe Class, The Last Knight, Hot Rod. What did I say? Hot Rod. This is a figure I actually forgot released in 2023, so it's a nice surprise to say that I can include it on this list. It's such a vast improvement compared to the Walmart exclusive from 2017. That figure really needed a unique mold and the time gun in order to really stand on its own 2 feet. And Hasbro didn't give that figure either of those things. Used the lockdown mold, and there was no time gun present, so the figure was a bit of a dud, in my opinion. But this time around, they corrected both issues. He has his own unique mold, and he has the time gun. So I feel like this is about as good as it gets for this character. It's an excellent figure, very well engineered, very fun to pose. He's got great wrist articulation, when that's not something that's based on the mold. It's not something that he needs for transformation. It's just been added just for articulation purposes, so that's very nice. The door wings hold away nicely in robot mode, and both modes look very screen accurate, I feel. I think that the only thing holding him back is the paint. He's sort of a weird browny grey type of colour. I think that's actually something that the old figure from 2017 does better. It has nice silver paint in places, and the colour scheme is generally better. It's a more darker shade of plastic, and he has those nice painted silver rims. I don't have that old figure anymore. I sold it, I think, earlier this year. Yeah, I don't feel any sense of loss over it, as this figure is just so very good. If you ask some people, I think they'll probably say this is one of the best Studio Series Deluxes of all time. I think that's a well-deserved position, a well-deserved title, because this figure is just so good. Now, if this figure is number 10, that shows you that there is some seriously tough competition for this list.
Come with me.
And at number 9, we have the Rise of the Beast Mainline Deluxe Air Razor. This is actually my first ever Air Razor toy, so I had no real preconceived notions of what this figure should be. I just thought it looked interesting, and given the nice price tag of the Rise of the Beast Deluxes, I thought I'd give it a shot. You know, I really did not expect to think much of this figure, but handling it, I was super surprised, to the point that it is on this list. I really enjoyed it. You know, I've been in this hobby since I was 6 years old, and it's not very often that I come across a figure that is so vastly different to another figure that I've experienced before, and this is one of those rare, joyful instances. The figure isn't screen accurate, I know, but it doesn't need to be, in my opinion. It's like a nice, ubiquitous sort of Air Razor, and for me, it fits into multiple displays. Generations, Beast Wars, movie, anything really. The transformation is very different and very, let's say, wild, to go with the theme of Beast Wars. I love how the legs form the wings, along with the wings on the back of the robot. Usually if an alternate mode requires wings, they're stored on the back of the robot, rather than coming from anywhere else on the robot. And here, they come from the legs. I think that's very cool. It means that she has great leg articulation. The daggers also store underneath the wings in bird mode, and weapon storage is always very good when it's done well. I came up with this cool jet fan mode, and in my headcanon it's like how she looks on Cybertron, or how she might look when travelling between planets. She comes with these two imposing daggers, as I mentioned, and I really wish she used them in the film, but then again, she didn't even transform in the film, sadly. The only issue with this figure, as usual, is the paint. I have already painted the gold up to make it look nice and metallic and shiny and rich and deep, and I hope to correct the rest of the paint at some point, perhaps by introducing some silvers and some more metallic browns, and perhaps also doing some panel lining. Yeah, the Rise of the Beast Deluxes really took me back to the good old days of movie toy lines. You know, Movie 1, Revenge of the Fallen, Dark of the Moon, kind of reminds me of those days where the figures weren't accurate, but they were just so much fun to handle and they were something different. So yes, special mention for the rest of the Rise of the Beast Deluxes. Good job, Hasbro, good job.
Oh, let's break it! Damn!
I got into Overwatch when it went free to play last year, and then I backtracked earlier this year and bought most of the Overwatch Ultimates figures that I missed. Back in the day I bought a couple of them, but this year I went and bought the majority of the figures that I cared about. I believe earlier in the year there was a video on my channel called POV Man Opens a Bunch of Toys, or something like that, and that's actually where I got the majority of these figures. I did buy some of them separately, like Genji and Hanzo, and Mercy and Farah, and I think I showcased those on my Instagram. So, unfortunately, this line did die. It was killed off by Hasbro a couple of years ago now. I think this line started in 2019 and maybe went for about a year or two. But I wanted to include and highlight them all here so that you could see them all. Maybe you weren't even aware that this line was a thing, or you didn't know that some of these characters were made or not. So I just wanted to give them all a special shout out here, because, you know, as excellent as they all are, I guess each one has a drawback or two here and there. But I think that comes with the territory, as each of these figures are their own unique sculpt, which is incredible. There's not much reuse in this line overall. Most of the figures have, you know, their own sculpt, their own details, their own articulation, and obviously their own drawbacks and benefits. And they're all eye candy though. They all look great on the shelf together, as you can see here. Each figure was given a generous amount of accessories, and this line really marked the start of some new articulation trends for Hasbro, I think, particularly in the torso. You can see here with the ab crunch, and then also the swivel at the very top. I think a lot of Spider-Man figures use that now. They didn't really used to do that. It used to just be the swivel at the waist with the ab crunch. Now you get a nice, good natural range of movement here. I think thanks to the Overwatch Ultimates line and the innovations that brought. I think if I had to choose my favourite out of all these figures, perhaps maybe it would be, I think, Genji. I feel like he can do the most. He has great double jointed elbows. His swords look really good. He's quite natural in his posing. Mercy is also very good. Unfortunately, she does have these single jointed elbows, but she poses quite nicely. And Soldier 76 is also very good, but he's a bit rigid. So one of those three. It's kind of hard to choose just one. But actually, now that I think about it, I think maybe Reinhardt might be my favourite, because he's so big, so bulky, a lot of plastic on him, a lot of mass, and he's just a big old chonkster, and he's really fun to handle and to mess with. My figure is missing the shield. It's no big deal, it's just a big old translucent blue hunk of plastic, so I'm not missing out too much. So yeah, when I have to choose one favourite, probably Reinhardt, I think. Overall, I love having representation of some of these Overwatch characters that I like. It's a real shame that the line died, as there were a lot of great figures that I feel we should have gotten that we never did, that Hasbro would have been perfectly suited to making, such as Bastion, a literal transformer, and, you know, Orisa. I think seeing some of the newer characters like Ramatra would have been very fun, and we've also just gotten Mauga recently, so yeah, it's a real shame that this line died, but I'm glad that we at least got these, and here I am giving them some of the well-deserved love and attention that they deserved on my list. Yes, here we have my namesake. On most platforms, my name is Malgus Prime, and that was derived from this fellow. I love the character so much. He's bad for the sake of it. He's got the strength of an ox piloting a tank, and he'll stomp anyone who stands in his way. I can only dream of getting a figure of Malgus in the Black Series line. And now, the dream is made reality. What a time to be a collector indeed. I'm getting all of these figures of characters that we never thought would get a new figure. That might give you a little hint as to who may appear later on in this list. No spoilers, of course, you'll have to guess for yourself. He's indeed a very well executed figure. For example, I've never seen a soft good cloak done so well, whether or not it is up or down, the hood that is. It sticks so close to the head, and it's because of how well they've designed it overall. You can see there's some stitching which holds the cloak and the hood close to the body. and that means it doesn't look goofy at any angle, and it looks very natural, and looks very much like how it did in those CG trailers for the Old Republic. So I really like that, and I hope that's something that Hasbro carry forward whenever they do soft good hoods and cloaks. It's really nice to have the mask as well. You have the option to keep it on or off. Whether or not it is on or off, the head looks great, and there's a really nice sculpted detail on the unmasked head. The articulation is good, and you can get into quite a lot of good poses, but it's a real shame that the thigh cut was removed, and that's happened to a lot of the newer Black Series figures, unfortunately. I also don't really like the lack of paint detail and the accessories. He is a deluxe figure, so really we should expect to see a lot more to justify this increased cost. So overall, he's a very good figure, and I'm very pleased to have him. I'm very pleased that he exists, because he's such a great character, such a fan favourite, and I think he's been done very well. There's just some other little things that should have been there that aren't. We really should have expected to see them there because of the increased price at that deluxe price point.
Okay, Peter 1, Peter 2, Peter 2, Peter 3. Peter 3.
You may have noticed the little hint I dropped with Malgus, and this is partly what I meant. I mean, if we told someone from a few years ago that we'd be getting new Toby and Andrew Spider-Man figures, they'd probably press extra doubt, honestly. So these are the single release figures, and they came with the unmasked heads, and as of the time of this video, they're still quite new. I got them just a few weeks ago, and they feel very nice and fresh and shiny, and I love them. I think that these are the versions to get compared to the 3-pack because of those unmasked heads. Couldn't really choose one Spider-Man to pick, as they're all equally special to me, and they all represent different things for me, as I grew up with all of the films. I think this is probably the definitive Tom Holland Marvel Legends figure, as it finally gets the proportions right after so long of him looking like a goofball in the Marvel Legends line. There comes all the right accessories, i.e. the full set of hands, and this costume in particular is divine. I think it's probably the best costume he's had in the MCU. And then I still have to pinch myself when seeing this Toby and this Andrew figure, as, well, I kind of didn't think it would happen. I mean, after they showed up in No Way Home, we knew it would happen eventually, but it was just such a long gap between No Way Home and these figures releasing that it kind of felt like a fever dream when it actually happened. But yeah, they've been done so very well, and they're great updates to the old figures that released back in the day. I think the sculpts are all immaculate, and I really like the texturing on them, particularly on Andrew's suit. It's got that nice basketball type of texture, and Andrew's suit also has a great sheen to it, which is quite similar to what's in the films, and the sheen's in all the right places, such as on the eye lenses and on the webbing. And speaking of the webbing, all of them have painted web lines, which is actually a major W, because they have kind of been omitting it this whole time, so it's nice that they finally went all the way and gave the Spider-Man figures the painted web lines. The unmasked heads are so very good, but I do think Toby was caught lacking, unfortunately. All the figures pose easily, but unfortunately they all needed heating, and I've heard that some other people have had breakage trouble, which is a real shame. Funnily enough, my Toby's shin, the right shin, just dropped off as soon as I took it out of the box. I thought that was very strange. It really just said peace out and dropped off, so I did have to glue that back on. Hopefully that will stay in place. Let's see what happened, only time will tell. So I do think that it is a little strange that not all of the hands were included, even though they were there in the 3-pack, which means I have the sculpt and everything. But I suppose the bozos that bought the 3-pack need to have some sort of win over us single-pack enjoyers, don't they? Overall, I think this is a really great set. I'm very happy with it, but maybe it's just the QC that keeps them down a little bit, and having the full set of hands really would have set this over the edge, I reckon.
Let them come.
I don't think this figure needs any real justification as to why it's on the list, as you already know how good it is. But that would be boring, so I'll definitely be giving you the lowdown. We thought this figure would just be a vague retool of SS-38 Optimus Prime from the Bumblebee movie, but really the only shared parts are the wheels. Pretty much everything else is different. From the articulation, to the transformation, to the sculpt, to the accessories. Every little thing has been changed, and you really feel it. The robot mode is very perfect, I feel. Immaculate, in fact. And it's so very clean. If you compare it to the early renders of the robot mode, it's pretty much spot on. This figure even has an ab crunch, and the range of movement on those legs, the way they kick forward with the built-in drop down, it's amazing. You can really get some great poses from it. I love how the sword integrates, and the cannon is very cool, if a little piddly, which is one of the issues I have with this figure, but it is blaster bed compatible, and it does store quite nicely, so the small nature of the cannon does work in its favour in that sense. I think the main issues are the back of the truck, which could have easily and cheaply been fixed by Hasbro, even with some parts forming. Perhaps if they didn't shoot a pin through the hole, they could have just been easily removed. And some third-party companies have engineered different feet to make it so that the feet just fold, and it means that the whole leg shin assembly doesn't need to be folded. So, those were some cheap and easy fixes that Hasbro could have done on their side. And the other issue I think is the shoulder articulation. It does have those, as the toy guy says, trigger happy shoulders, where it can't really move forward in the way that you would like it, and there's some workarounds required to get a good natural forward and outward range of arm movement. But the shoulder design does also benefit itself, as it's also an impromptu butterfly joint, so there's some give and take there with the shoulder design. And yeah, I overall think the shoulders are good as they are, but to fix most of these problems, DNA Design have announced their kit. It should be releasing sometime soon. That will fix the shoulder issue and also the truck mode issue. So I really like this figure. There's just those couple of little things holding it back, and I think this really should have been released on a more mass scale and not be made as a Target exclusive. But if you did miss out on the initial run of the figure, you can always go ahead and get one of the KOs, which do have some improvements. Yolopot came out of nowhere and scored a strike, a big old strike. The A&K series is what the red line should have been from the start. Great quality plastic, good paint, the best articulation, all at a price lower than a modern Voyager. How wonderful. The build was so fun and easy, yet I felt satisfied upon completing it. Since then, I've had a ton of fun posing the figure, and he nicely scales with MPN figures. The only issue I really have with this figure is the lack of accessories, but these will be included with their upcoming Cheetor, and I'll be sure to pick that figure up as well, as that figure looks incredible.
We have arrived at the coordinates.
I've been wanting good figure representations of these two brothers of destruction for so long. I am majorly happy with these two figures. This is the Legacy, Prime Universe, Skyquake and Dreadwing. These were two of my favourite Decepticons from Transformers Prime, and I was only able to buy Voyager Dreadwing from that old line. Sadly, it wasn't a great figure. I actually think that the Commander class versions were better. Fast forward to 2023, and now both brothers get suitably imposing figures to match their names, and these are both widely available, unlike that old Skyquake. The scale is probably the first thing that you notice with these figures. These really embody the size of old leader class figures. I was pleasantly surprised by the articulation, and both of them can easily pull off two-handed gun poses. Paint is very nice on both of them. I think Dreadwing overall looks better, but he is lacking in silver paint when compared to Skyquake. Skyquake has some sort of strange issue with his backpack, but this has been corrected on Dreadwing, which is very nice to see, as retools don't usually include too many fixes like that, so it's nice to see Hasbro doing that. This is what I think Prime Legacy should really be. It's an excellent blend of both Transformers Prime and the Generations aesthetics, and I got both of these on sale, which makes these figures even more beloved to me, as I don't feel hard done by or cheated out of my money.
You agreed to stay away!
Okay, let me just start by saying that this is the best Black Series package ever, in my opinion, in the sense that this one figure gets every accessory it needs. And unlike with other Black Series figures, I'm not left with a sense of wanting in regards to the accessories. They all match the character perfectly, and I've never seen a Black Series figure come with so much. The heads, the hands, the effects pieces, everything, they all seem relevant and useful. He poses effortlessly, even with the lack of thigh swivel. The price was high, and Stormtroopers weren't needed, but at least with them, the price is more reasonable. And to be honest, I didn't actually own any of the 2020 Stormtroopers. I don't buy Black Series figures too often anymore, but like with Malgus, this is one that I feared we would never see. Two characters that I love who have had justice done to them in the same year. Happy, happy days.
We must find more minicons.
Growing up, I played the hell out of the Armada PS2 game, and I often reminisce on that and revisit it and emulate it, and I still love it. To be honest, a few days ago I was playing it. I also watched the Armada show later on, and I love the designs of all the robots there, and that Optimus design is just iconic to me. That all goes to say that I love Armada Optimus Prime. You know, my mum picked up the cab loose at a charity shop when I was a boy of the old leader class figure, but it was just the robot and the cab. There was no weapon, there was no trailer, nothing. So as much as I loved that figure, it didn't feel like I had the full experience of that character, that figure. And well, if you fast forward 20 years to 2023 compared to when the initial figure was released, I now own the complete figure with the weapons and the trailer, along with a figure with modern articulation but plastic like it released 20 years ago in 2003. This figure, this Legacy Armada Commander Class Optimus Prime, is worthy of the Commander price, and he has a ton of play value. But he also has, well, a great deal of function and value as a collector-worthy piece. To me, there's nothing more that I could want from this figure, and given my connection to Armada Optimus as one of my favourite takes on the character, I would say that this is not just my favourite toy of 2023, this is perhaps one of my favourite toys overall. So I would say that you can't go wrong with this figure, whether you buy it full price or on sale, whether you have much affinity to the character, to the design or not. This is one that I think that you should experience. My hair's different, my clothes are different. It's almost as if I filmed the introduction in 2023. So, there's the list. I hope you enjoyed watching it. Sorry it's a bit long, but I did want to get my true thoughts and feelings out there about each of the figures. Yeah, 2023 was an excellent year for collectors. Pretty much all of the big brands did a lot of great figures. Hasbro really killed it. Transformers fans ate very well. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like. I'd appreciate that very much. And you can comment your own lists, or you can call me out for being a bozo for having some L takes. That's fine. If you want to go above and beyond, you can subscribe. And you can follow me on Instagram at Amalgus_Prime. The L is a 1. Thanks for watching. Hope you have an excellent 2024, and I wish you all the best, and have a great day.